Hello and welcome to the In Publishing podcast. My name is James Evelegh and I'm the editor of In Publishing. My guest this time is Emily Ferguson, e-commerce director at Future plc, where she is responsible for Marie Claire UK and Marie Claire USA. Previously, Emily was e-commerce business development manager at The Telegraph, and prior to that, launched and ran her own online affiliate marketing fashion website. In our chat, Emily spoke about the importance of adopting a test and learn culture.
I think sort of a test and learn mentality is really, really important. And I think that's where the biggest failures come when a lot of money gets pumped into something that hasn't necessarily been proven yet.
Why successful e-commerce relies on lots of different things working well together.
No one thing I think is more important than the other, because if you've got great SEO but you've got a terrible page experience, then it's not really going to work anyway. Or if you've got a great page and you haven't done your SEO, then no one's going to see your great page, so it all kind of has to work together.
And she has some good advice for publishers looking to take their first steps into e-commerce.
Start small, start slow, start building up relationships, start adding links to your website, start creating buying guides. That's kind of, I guess, the foundation of where you would start.
Before we hear more from Emily, a quick word about our valued sponsors. We would like to thank our podcast sponsor, Air Business, a market leader in distribution and subscription management services for the publishing industry. Its end-to-end service includes subscriber acquisition and marketing strategy, worldwide distribution, digital mail and e-commerce fulfillment, and warehouse and freight logistics. For more information, visit airbusiness.com. Emily Ferguson, welcome to the In Publishing podcast.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
And I think congratulations might be in order. Am I right? You've just recently launched in the US?
Yes, we've recently launched the Marie Claire edit exclusively with Nordstrom as our exclusive launch partner in the US. Yes, it's been a very exciting time.
And did it all go well? All go according to plan?
Yes, it's all gone really, really well. And we're just looking at the next sort of scale out plans.
Fantastic. And that must have taken up a lot of your time over the last few months, I guess.
It's been on the roadmap for a while, actually, and it was just so lucky and such a brilliant partnership that we were able to partner with Nordstrom. The brands are very aligned. We got very lucky to sort of have such a great technical infrastructure as well internally at Future, and being able to utilize that in the creation of the new Marie Claire edit in America.
Excellent. Well, we'll come back to talk about your US launch, a bit later on. But maybe we can start off with a quick overview of your role and responsibilities at Marie Claire.
Yes, no problem. So I am the e-commerce director at Marie Claire UK and Marie Claire US. So I have a wonderful team of ladies around me who are fabulous, and I oversee all of our brand pillars. So that's everything from the edit in the UK and the US. And I also oversee the voucher sites, our beauty sampling businesses, and our cashback site, which is our VIP, Marie Claire VIP. And so that really encompasses us looking sort of everything from technical to development to brand building to marketing, to sales, customer acquisition, and also developing new revenue lines over and above the brands that I just discussed.
And you mentioned your team there of ladies. I mean, how does that split up? What do they do? How do the roles and skill sets vary?
So, I mean, they kind of sit across lots of different things. I guess they're all generalists in a way. They get involved with everything really. But there's people who carry out sales roles predominantly, people who carry out sort of marketing campaign fulfillment, all the way through to looking at kind of new revenue lines through different content opportunities as well.
And how big's the team?
So the team is, I've got 4 wonderful women that work with me.
Excellent, excellent. And the revenue trends at Marie Claire as a whole, if you take the brand as a whole, obviously you're responsible for one part of that, but how are the revenue trends in general, and what are they?
So in terms of, looking at that kind of question, I'd be able to sort of look at top line. So overall, the Future business has grown revenue 70%. So Marie Claire has been in line with that overall growth that Future has seen.
And in terms of e-commerce, that's obviously your main responsibility. What would you say are the pillars of e-commerce success?
So I would say how you use your data acquisition, engagement, brand alignment, especially when you're looking at doing e-commerce for a publisher that's already got an existing brand and brand history, the customer journey, and really the kind of the bare bones, the tech that you use will either make or break what you're doing. It's a difference between making, $5, or $50. And I've seen it, just over my period in my career, the difference on how good technology can really optimize and change, how much revenue and what the ROI is.
And presumably, because you're now part of Future, but you were with TI Media, when that acquisition took place, did you have to completely change your tech stack?
No, I mean, it was brilliant, actually, the acquisition with Future, because I got or had the opportunity to work with Ross Curtis and Pavel Smok, who created the Hawk platform. And Hawk is our kind of internal e-commerce engine, is probably the best word to say it, to describe it. And that's, extremely successful, brilliant piece of technology. So it was a real privilege to be able to kind of, have access to that, and to be able to work with the team to kind of, look at how we add, fashion products to the Hawk technology, to kind of create, like we said earlier, the Marie Claire edit using that technology.
And for publishers who aren't part of a large group like Future or TI Media previously, what are their routes on the tech side?
I mean, they can, there's other things that you can focus on, and there's other, third parties that I'm sure they could work with. But, just getting the on-page optimization right within content is probably a really good place to start.
And for publishers like yourself, or I should say, ones going down the e-commerce route for the first time, what are the common pitfalls to avoid?
I think the biggest pitfall a publisher can make is not having an agile approach to developing new revenue lines. I think sort of a test and learn mentality is really, really important. And I think that's where the biggest failures come, when a lot of money gets pumped into something that hasn't necessarily been proven yet.
Okay, and so looking back over your time in e-commerce, what would you say have been the key learnings along the way? I mean, am I right in saying you've worked in e-commerce for about 10 years, or is that right?
Yeah, a little bit longer than 10 years, but
Okay.
yeah.
And looking back over those 10 years, what would you say have been the key learnings that you've taken on board?
Oh, probably the biggest learning that I've taken on board is probably from my own business, where I owned the copyright of the code that I wrote, but the web design company that I was using went bust. And so therefore I no longer owned the copyright of the code. It got transferred to someone else rather than to me, because of the way they'd hired someone internally. So I think, I guess that's the kind of thing you could only learn through experience. So
So it's basically having ownership of the
ownership
key
of
key
what you're
levers.
doing, 100%, yeah.
And how big do you think e-commerce can get for Marie Claire? It's obviously a sizable part already, but what's the ambition?
I mean, gosh, how long's a piece of string? There's so much that we can do. We're about to launch VIP on mobile, and we've got a massive marketing campaign in the works for that. Beauty Drawer is now at 96,000 users. We've just launched Edit in the States with Nordstrom. But within the next 2 months after the exclusivity period is over, we'll be launching with another 10 of the most well-known retailers in the States. So yeah, I mean, the opportunity is huge. And I think probably, for me, the most important thing is just making sure I'm focused on, where the best ROI is going to provide me. And really kind of honing that and making all of the business lines that we do the best that they can possibly be.
So you might have already answered it in a way, but the key, so you're here now and you want to get, grow to a certain percentage, or as you say, the market is huge. What would be the key drivers of achieving that? How do you plan to go about that?
Well, through every sort of touch point for purchase, from everything from, organic growth to paid for social opportunities through to marketing opportunities, branded partnerships. There's multitude of and layers of the way that we're kind of like planning on growing.
And when people come to the Marie Claire site, is it a destination shopping channel, if you like, or do they come look at some content and then pick up links, for particular product lines?
No, I think it's a different journey to that. I think the Marie Claire audience that read the magazine are obviously super engaged. They all know the core pillars of the brand. It's very evident, with the campaigns that are run. Sally Holmes and Andrea Thompson, both the editors in chiefs do amazing, incredible jobs at doing that. And I think that the Marie Claire edit will just provide, an immersive shopping experience to enable users, if they want to shop, multitude of different stores in one place, they have the ability to do that. And also it allows us to expand our digital reach. The Beauty Drawer allows us to add additional value to our customers through sampling and obviously to the brands. So there's kind of lots of different touch points that we look at through the journey.
And if you look at the e-commerce performance of yourselves and other publishers who are successful in this area, where is the room for refinement? I mean, obviously you're improving across the board, but where is a particular focus on?
Like I said, the focus is on just being the best that we could be at what we've done already. I think that for me is the most important thing.
And in terms of competition, who are your main competitors? Is it other publishers or is it retailers or who?
I wouldn't say it's retailers. I think because there's so many different layers to Marie Claire that there's different types of competitors. There's the likes of List for the edit, is probably the biggest competitor we have. And then other publishers, I guess, as well. But in terms of, there's other kind of, I guess, out of the Marie Claire audience, there's, brands that do social commerce and, there's lots of different types of competitors, but we tend not to focus too much on our competitors. Our main focus in the business is to, we all put our heads down and really focus on just being the best that we can be in what we're doing.
And in terms of e-commerce, what challenges do you see on the horizon for Marie Claire?
I think personally, I mean, I could only really speak personally from my own perspective, which would be that, just to make sure that I'm, with so many things going on, to make sure that although it's great to be in the detail, it's also, to take time to take that step back. And I think that's probably going to be the biggest challenge for me.
Let's talk a bit more about the US operation now. So can you tell us, how long has that been in the pipeline? And
so we've been talking about it since sort of May last year, it sort of actually went soft live in December this year. So it actually had a few. It had a we had a lot of testing that we did on site before the actual live date in March. So yeah, we had sort of another 2 months of a soft launch.
And what were
Before
your
we
key
sort of
learnings from the soft launch? Because that's always a very revealing process, I'm sure.
yeah, I think probably like touch points on the page and the user journey as well. So there's more work I'd like to do, and I think that's probably a good approach or good attitude to have anyway. Is you should always be trying to optimize and do something better, and A/B test everything that you can, and get customer feedback, and those things are all really important, I think, for any business. So yeah, that's kind of, it's been in the pipeline for a while. Like I said, we were very lucky and very honored to have launched with Nordstrom as our exclusive launch partner. So that's a very exciting period of time for us.
So what was the thinking behind having an exclusive partner? Because obviously that's not how you do it in the UK, is it?
No, it wasn't how we did it in the UK, but I think the opportunity for both brands to come together came together at the right time, and it all just worked. And like I said, it was a really great idea in terms of they're exclusive for 2 months, and then we scale it out to other brands as well. So yeah, and we've done a lot of great fun things with Nordstrom in terms of like marketing and marketing the edit through social and through our dedicated newsletters, articles. So yeah, it's been a really exciting period of time. And obviously but we've gone to press as well in America, which was great. So yeah, it's been very exciting.
And can you tell us a bit more about the social dimension? That's, I presume, an important part of how you market yourself.
Yeah, so in terms of social, we've kind of done some customized social, co-branded social posts as well, just to market it. And then we have ideas and kind of like plans to kind of our ongoing marketing, and then the SEO side of things will obviously play a really big part in that. And the growth in the US has been phenomenal, even in the short 2-3 weeks that we've been officially live. We've seen up to 16,000 keywords ranking in the US
Wow.
for shopping terms. So that's very exciting for me, to be able to see that, and really look at how we utilize that, and to our advantage in terms of conversions.
Would you say SEO is the most important skill set in terms of boosting your e-commerce?
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, I think there's lots of touch points, like data acquisition, user engagement is really important, on-site optimization, SEO. There are lots of different sort of, no one thing I think is more important than the other. Because if you've got great SEO but you've got a terrible page experience, then it's not really going to work anyway. Or if you've got a great page and you haven't done your SEO, then no one's going to see your great page, So it all kind of has to work together.
And back to the US launch, were there particular challenges in terms of the way the Americans do business, or legal, cultural, and the like?
They were amazing. The girls in America, and the team over there in America have just been incredible. They're all incredible women to work with. And it's just been such an honor and a privilege to work with them. And
But any particular? So it was all as easy as launching in the UK. There was,
yeah, I think it was easier. Like I
all
said, I
right.
think having futures technology, and having the Hawk team behind powering the edit made it extremely easy. The Hawk technology is second to none. And like I said, it was a real privilege and a real honor to come into Future and be able to utilize that technology. So yeah, no, everything went really, really well.
Brilliant.
It's not my
Brilliant.
first. It's not my first rodeo, though. Unfortunately,
Oh, right. Okay.
no. But in terms of it's not my first. It's not my first launch. So I feel like, I panic and I have to-do lists that are 60 lines long when I do one of these. But then I'm like, I have done this before. I think it'll be okay.
And it obviously has proved to be so. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So on the on-site optimization, can we talk a bit more about that? What are the pillars of that? What are the kind of things you're looking at once somebody lands on your page?
Well, I mean, is it easy to navigate? Is this the page appealing for what the person is looking for? Can they easily understand how to navigate, how to look at things, how to search? There's lots of different things that I think publishers probably need to be aware of, and that's just talking from the sort of the edit side of things.
Any areas where publishers struggle with on-site on-page optimization?
I think it really depends on the type of tools you're using. And like I said, we've been very privileged at Future to be able to use the Hawk technology. But I think, having sort of like contextual links on the page, CTA buttons, these are all things that I guess, depending on where publisher is on their e-commerce journey, are important things to think about.
And I imagine testing is a pretty crucial part of what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And also getting customer feedback. I want, with the businesses, I'm looped into all customer services. So I want to know everything. So that's quite a bit. So that, it's good though, because then I understand everything about the business,
So what are you looking for there? Is that in terms of kind of the analytics, or in terms of
just in terms of like customer perception, or how people view things, or things that could potentially be optimized? It's always important to get customer feedback.
and the whole process of testing? Do you have a tight framework for that? Is that something which is ongoing, or do you do it periodically?
Well, it's probably ongoing, really, in a lot of in not necessarily what I would do, but I'm sure other people within the team, there's ongoing testing. But what I do, it's more sporadic, in terms of when the need comes about.
Now, if you look at your e-commerce business as a whole, how does it break down? How do you segment your business?
So we look at everything from the top of the funnel all the way to the bottom of the funnel is probably, so, we've got inspirational content and buying guides and informative content all the way through to an immersive shopping experience on the edit. Then we've got sort of like data acquisition that sort of looks at kind of like that user engagement. And then we've got all the way down to the bottom of the funnel where we have, voucher codes that we work with as well.
And is everything via affiliate, or do you have different types of e-commerce sale?
No, not everything's via affiliate now.
So what are the other planks?
Well, they are, like I said, in terms of like talking about kind of like revenues and stuff, we sort of look at stuff top line. So there is different ways and different touch points in terms of how we make money, but it's through sales, it's through sponsorships, and it's through partnerships.
Now, early in your career, Emily, I think you've alluded to it already. You had your own e-commerce business.
I did.
How was that? What were the key learnings from that, apart from obviously needing to own your software?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I think I was just so young and a bit impressionable, and probably too ambitious for my budget and for my level of experience. So I would say the biggest learning from that was probably, trying to start smaller. I wanted to start big as a one band operation, and I should have started smaller and scaled and grew. And I think that's why now I'm very much the type of person that will test everything and not go too big too quickly.
So what was, I mean, obviously, I presume does it exist anymore, or is it?
No, I mean, so it was a fashion aggregator actually, but again, like I said, the technology was the sort of the breaking point, unfortunately. But in terms of like, I should have started off smaller, started building an audience in a different way, I think, rather than trying to rely on Google. So yeah, there was lots of learnings. I think anything you do in life, if you put yourself out there and you take a risk, whether it's kind of positive or negative, depending on your attitude, you can probably turn it into a positive experience anyway.
And had you been working in e-commerce before then, or was this just an idea you had in you?
Well, no, I mean, I did a maths degree, which I really liked at sort of education level, and then went into trading and worked as an analyst at a bank at a private bank for 5 years.
That's very interesting. So how did you go from banking to
To
e-commerce in
publishing.
publishing?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. So I was an analyst at a bank for 5 years, and then I went and set up my own business. So I did that for 3 years, and I basically spent those 3 years building up relationships with every single fashion brand in the industry, and then that set my career off really.
So where did you go from then?
So I went from running my own business to actually working for a fashion aggregator. And then I worked for the Telegraph, and then I got headhunted to come to Marie Clare, and I haven't left.
So presumably the learnings you had while working as a one-woman band were probably pretty crucial in your subsequent career, I guess.
Oh yeah, 100%. And actually, even the banking career, that actually, although it's nothing to do with publishing, it does teach you. You have very tight time scales to. You have 15 minutes to trade, or at least you did at that time. I don't know what the time scales are now, but you had 15 minutes to trade, millions of pounds worth of stock. That's like the FSA guideline. So, in a very fast paced environment, you have to be able to have amazing attention to detail and be able to make decisions very quickly. So I think that set me up, I think, in publishing, and kind of gave me, I guess, a bit of an edge in terms of it, like a bit of a different skill set, which I don't actually necessarily think has been a bad thing.
And presumably you had an interest in fashion, I'm guessing, previously, and you combined that with your banking and analytical skills, and that was the start of your own company, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I always wanted to kind of go off and do my own thing, and I think at the time I just, I wanted to. I think going into banking was, it was a great experience, but I think long term I would never have stayed there. The 5 year mark was always the time when I was going to leave. So.
And do you think all publishers should be getting into e-commerce? Presumably a lot are, but maybe some aren't. What would you say to those who are considering it?
Oh, I would say, like I said, start small, start slow, start building up relationships, start adding links to your website, start creating buying guides. That's kind of, I guess, the foundation of where you would start.
And I suppose the flip side, any don'ts, I presume, is try and
Don't go
start
too
too
big
big.
too quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think, where do you think the publishing industry is in terms of e-commerce? Do you think, I know it's a growth area for many, and it's presumably an area where some people envisage they should be getting into. How do you think the industry as a whole is doing, the publishing industry, that is?
I mean, in terms of, future e-commerce is second to none. So that's really all I can kind of comment on. And I can't really speak for other publishers. But yeah, I mean, in terms of e-commerce, it's a vital part of our business, and it's a very successful part.
So how do you see e-commerce evolving for publishers over the next few years?
I mean, I can talk about probably talk about Marie Claire rather than other publishers, but I guess in terms of where I would like to go is probably just honing in on that user journey, and sort of scaling up what we have. I think those two things of looking at scale and looking at the user journey would be the most important things for me.
And the user journey, when somebody wants to buy something, what is the typical journey? So they're offline and they go online. Have you kind of traced the steps people take?
Well, it's more the user journey on our site as well. It's not necessarily where they are on other people's websites. It's more, how easy is it for a customer to search for something and be able to have an onward journey to purchase that, and do we facilitate that in the best possible and most optimized way?
Emily, finally, a question we ask all our guests on the podcast. Outside of work, how do you relax?
Well, that is a very good question. I go to the gym. And I have a spa at the gym, which I very much enjoy, and that is my way to relax. And if I'm not at the gym, I'm then running around after my 7-year-old boy, taking him to kung fu or swimming, or a play date or something like that. So that's pretty much my my life, the gym or my son. So
that sounds very energetic. Emily Ferguson, thank you very much for being our guest on the In Publishing podcast.
No problem. Lovely to speak to you, and thank you very much for inviting me.
A final word from our valued podcast sponsor. Air Business is trusted by 4,000 publications and 3 million happy subscribers, with 10 million customer records on file. It processes £500 million each year in 22 currencies and delivers over 300 million items. Find out more at airbusiness.com. Many thanks to Emily for being our guest this time. 2 key takeaways for me were the need to start small and grow, and the importance of adopting an agile approach to the business. You can find out more about Marie Clare and perhaps buy some stuff at their website, marieclaire.co.uk. For more information about us and to listen to previous podcasts, please go to our website, inpublishing.co.uk. Thank you for listening. We'll be back in a few weeks' time for another podcast. Bye for now.